Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this week has shaped up to be a pretty big week in the world of boxing. Not only do we have a great welterweight unification fight this weekend between Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas, we've also heard the news that US authorities are really coming down on Daniel Kinahan. I believe that the DEA have offered a $5 million reward for any information that leads to his capture. Now this has somewhat rocked the world of boxing. Many boxing personalities and people involved in the sport are scouring through their Twitter to delete any reference. Shout out to Sam Jones. So all of the rats in boxing right now are scurrying around looking for their exit strategy. You know, rats leaving a sinking ship springs to mind. I wonder if the likes of Kugan Cassius might start singing, you know, $5 million is a lot of money. So the whole Daniel Kinahan story has been a big one in boxing this week. But another story that somewhat went under the radar was the announcement of the return of Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, this is somewhat of a bizarre fight. Ruiz Jr. will return on the 16th of July, and he's actually fighting in Mexico City, and his opponent will be Tyrone Spong. Now this fight apparently is going to be a pay-per-view on the wonderful Triller app, you know, a great app which has hosted such fights as Jake Paul versus Ben Askren and Kubrat Pulev versus Frank Mir, the hallmark of boxing, so to speak. So yeah, pay-per-view fight taking place in Mexico City, Andy Ruiz versus Tyrone Spong. Now, many people were disappointed with this announcement, as they rightly should be, since Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua that first time around in June of 2019. Since then, he's done absolutely nothing. In the rematch, he was nothing short of a disgrace, turned up grossly out of shape, barely threw a punch, following Joshua around the ring all night. A truly abysmal performance from a so-called heavyweight champion at the time. Since that defeat against Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz has been very inactive. He's only fought once since his defeat to Anthony Joshua, and that was against Chris Arreola around this time last year. And in that fight, Andy Ruiz looked pretty horrible. He got dropped quite hard in that fight, got buzzed by Chris Arreola, and lost some rounds. It was a competitive fight, and quite frankly, at this stage, I mean, if you're competitive with Chris Arreola, there's something wrong. Arreola has been washed for a long time now, so that fight raised a lot of red flags in regards to Andy Ruiz. Of course, before that fight, Andy Ruiz linked up with Eddie Reynoso. I'm not sure what the current status is with that relationship. Is Andy Ruiz still with Reynoso? I've heard rumours that they've split, but I've not seen anything official, so we shall see. And yeah, what does this mean for Andy Ruiz's relationship with the PBC? Because he had some good fights available on the PBC. I mean, the Luis Ortiz fight would have made a lot of sense. I mean, if you want to stay busy, even a Charles Martin would be much better than Tyrone Spong. So, has he left PBC? Is this just a one-off? Who knows, time will tell. But, I mean, the opponent selection for June 16th in Tyrone Spong is pretty poor. Now, Tyrone Spong he's a heavyweight who has a record of 14-0, 13 of those 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He is 36 years old. He's around 6'2" in height, and in boxing he's fought absolutely nobody. He just has an inflated record by beating overmatched journeymen, essentially. Now, Tyrone Spong does have a history in combat sports. He was a very successful kickboxer, competing in organisations such as Glory and K1. I mean, he fought the likes of Alistair Overeem, so, you know, Tyrone Spong was a world-class kickboxer, but what little I've seen of him as a pro, he looks pretty shoddy, to be honest. Doesn't look great at all. And if you remember Tyrone Spong, he was originally supposed to be Alexander Usyk's first fight at heavyweight. However, That fight fell through, I believe, because Tyrone Spong tested positive for a PED, if my memory serves me correct, and he's not fought since then. Tyrone Spong hasn't had a fight since August 2019, 31st of August 2019. So by the time this fight comes around, he'll nearly be 3 years inactive. So there you go. A disappointing opponent for Andy Ruiz, and quite frankly, his career now, it's lost all momentum. I don't really expect anything from Andy Ruiz anymore in regards to achieving great things in the sport, in the division. I can't see Andy ever, climbing the mountain again and becoming a heavyweight champion. I could see him beating some fringe contenders, but anybody who's got any dedication and ambition and quality, Andy Ruiz is not going to beat them, in my opinion. I think that ship has sailed. I think he's hanging on for a few paydays. I don't think he takes boxing seriously. I mean, I know he doesn't take boxing seriously. Just look at the state of him. Del Boy's body shaming. But yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, man, because there are good fights for Andy Ruiz out there. Fights that could get him back in contention. Fights that are fun for fans. But this is absolute crap. The only thing I'll be interested in is to see how big of a draw Andy Ruiz is in Mexico, because he's fighting in Mexico City, so that'll be pretty cool. But apart from that, it's a shit fight, let's be real. It's a pretty bad fight. Anyway, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.